Today we're taking a closer look at the iRobot Roomba 405, my second hands-on experience with the newest generation of Roombas, the first being the 105. It's great to finally see iRobot incorporate LiDAR navigation, but unfortunately it feels like a familiar case of too little too late. That said, let's dig in and see why. We'll be comparing it against the 100 plus robot vacuums we've reviewed here on the channel. Big thanks to iRobot for sending it over, but just to be clear, this video isn't sponsored. As always, you'll get our honest, unfiltered take, and we'll let the data speak for itself. If you're curious to learn more, there's a link in the description. Now let's get into the unboxing. Inside the box, you'll find the robot vacuum, the auto wash dock with power cord, an extra set of mop pads, a spare auto empty bag, and the usual product literature. Setup is quick and straightforward. Plug in the dock, fill the clean water tank, and let the unit charge. Once that's done, connect it to the iRobot Home app, available on both iOS and Android devices, and you're good to go. Now, a quick heads up for those familiar with iRobot's older models like the 600i or J series. There's a new app. The original app is now called the iRobot Home App Classic. Your account info carries over, and you'll still see all of your legacy devices. But here's the catch. You'll need the Classic app to control those older models, while the new app is required for the latest generation. It's an awkward split. And look, I'm not an app developer, but I've got to be honest, the new app isn't great. It doesn't resolve the issues from the old version, and in some ways, it's even more confusing. Personally, I find it frustrating to use, and for me, that's a major drawback. If you rely heavily on the app to manage your robot, this could be a deal breaker. On the flip side, if you typically set a schedule and rarely open the app again, you might not be too bothered by it. Right out of the box, the Roomba 405 required a surprisingly unintuitive firmware update that took nearly an hour to complete. The process felt clunky and offered little feedback. At times, it looked completely frozen, which made troubleshooting frustrating. While the update eventually went through, the experience left a poor first impression. We ran into a similar issue with the Roomba 105, so this might point to a recurring backend or server-side problem. That said, it's genuinely exciting to finally see a LiDAR module on a Roomba. As always, iRobot nails the fit and finish. The design carries that familiar polished aesthetic that immediately says Roomba. On the bright side, mapping speed has improved dramatically. Initial mapping now feels much faster and more competitive with other top-tier brands. If you've used one of iRobot's older non-LiDAR models, you'll remember just how painfully slow those could be, so this is a much-needed upgrade. And speaking of welcome upgrades, dual spinning mop pads, let's go! It's hard to believe it took this long, but hey, better late than never. When it comes to cleaning performance, the Roomba 405 holds its own. In our high-traffic, pet-filled home, it handled hair, crumbs, and fine dust with ease. The mop left floors looking noticeably fresher, a definite step up from the 105, which just drags a damp pad. Carpet performance is also a strong point, with the vacuum delivering solid suction and coverage. We did run into some hair tangles on the brush roller, which isn't surprising given the lack of a conical roller or active detangling system. To be fair, many premium robot vacuums now feature conical or split rollers designed to minimize tangles, something iRobot should seriously consider adding here. Of course, adding that kind of hardware would likely increase the cost, but since the 405 sits in that mid-range category, this could be a smart way to stand out and deliver added value against the competition. When it comes to raw power, it's refreshing to finally see iRobot publish suction specs. The Roomba 405 delivers 7,000 pascals of suction, below our overall average, but that average includes flagship models pushing over 20,000 pascals. For a mid-range robot vacuum, 7,000 pascals is actually quite respectable. On the noise front, the 405 clocks in at 82 decibels, about 9 decibels louder than the category average. Interestingly, both the 405 and the earlier 105 share the same rated suction power, but the 405 is noticeably louder. The good news, you can adjust suction settings, so you don't have to run it on max if you prefer a quieter clean. In our suction test, the 405 pulled 343 FPM, that's feet per minute, on carpet, which is below the category average of 420 FPM, but in line with recent iRobot models. Higher would be better, but this still represents a real improvement over older units. Airflow peaked at 0.22 kPa during our in-use tests, again about half the average, but consistent with previous iRobot models like the Combo J10 Plus Max. So how does this translate to real-world performance? Surprisingly well. The 405 scored a 95 out of 100 in our practical cleaning tests, beating the overall average of 88. So while it may not blow away the competition on paper or even outperform the 105 in some metrics, it punches above its weight in everyday use. On the mopping side, iRobot has made meaningful strides. The redesigned system uses dual spinning mop pads that can lift over carpet and return to the dock for self-washing and drying. It's not the most advanced system out there. There's no hot water washing, no hot air drying, no automatic solution dispensing, or mop side extension, but it's still a major step forward for Roomba. That said, the 405 doesn't have an onboard water tank, so it makes frequent trips back to the base station to re-wet and clean its mop pads. And in keeping with the theme of being a bit late to the game, the industry is already shifting towards more advanced roller and track style mopping system. Still, there's reason to be optimistic. iRobot recently announced the Roomba Combo Max 705, which will feature a roller mop. Stay tuned for more on that. One standout feature of the 405, however, is its self-emptying system built into the auto wash station. It's compact, thoughtfully designed, and adds a real layer of convenience. Depending on your usage, you could go weeks, possibly even months, without needing to replace the vacuum bag. At this price point, that kind of hands-off maintenance feels less like a luxury and more like a necessity. The iRobot Home app, available on both iOS and Android app stores, offers essential controls for the Roomba 405, including customizable cleaning settings, smart mapping, and zone-specific targeting. It supports multi-floor mapping up to 3 levels, no-go zones, and voice commands via Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant. While the expected features are all there, the user experience leaves much to be desired. As mentioned earlier, the interface is clunky and unintuitive. Navigating the app feels more frustrating than it should, and for me personally, it's a deal breaker. A cleaner, more streamlined UI could greatly improve the experience, but as it stands, the app remains a major weak point. The Roomba 405 currently holds a 3.8 out of 5-star rating, with users genuinely praising its vacuuming and mopping capabilities, especially on hard floors, and its convenience for busy lifestyles. Users appreciate its LiDAR navigation, which allows for efficient mapping and obstacle avoidance, as well as features like the auto wash dock for self-cleaning and pad refreshing. However, some users have reported issues with the app, inconsistent mopping performance, and occasional difficulty with small objects or deep cleaning on carpets. As with every model we test, there's always room for improvement, and the Roomba 405 is no exception. The biggest drawback for me is the app. It's buggy, slow, and frustrating to navigate, which really undermines the overall experience. Firmware updates take far too long, and the lack of granular controls, like adjusting suction or water levels, puts it behind competitors. The interface feels unintuitive and clunky, and addressing those issues will go a long way in making the 405 a more polished and user-friendly product. So, the Roomba 405 is a solid step forward for iRobot, bringing long overdue upgrades like LiDAR navigation and dual spinning mop pads to the table. It performs well in real-world cleaning scenarios, especially on hard floors, and its compact auto wash base adds meaningful convenience. But for all its hardware improvements, the experience is held back by a clunky, underdeveloped app and a few outdated design choices. At its mid-range price, the 405 competes well enough, but it doesn't quite leap ahead of the competition. If iRobot can modernize the software and refine a few features, future models could truly stand out. Until then, the 405 is a capable but cautious evolution, not a revolution.